just leads me to introduce Rico, who's come to share his experience, strength and hope.
Thanks, Lewis. My name's Rico. I'm an addict.
Hi, Rico.
That was difficult to say on its own, actually. This is going to be a long night. Okay. Quarter of an hour. Very warm welcome to anybody new to the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. Whatever you think is in store for you in recovery, you're wrong. I can tell you that now. It's nothing like I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to share a lot about drug taking because there isn't a lot of time, and I'm pretty sure you all know how to take drugs and drink. You know, you're in this room to start with. You don't come to this room by chance. You don't come to this room if you don't know how to take drugs and drink. Simple as that. You know, you didn't wake up this morning and say, "Oh, I might join CA tonight." It's been a long road getting here, and it was for me. So I don't need to go into that, but I will just say I took to drugs like water and alcohol, and they became more important than anything else to me on this planet. I had children, I had people I loved, I had a fantastic family, and drugs became more important than any of that. If you stood between me and drugs, or even if you didn't stand between me and drugs, if I thought you were going to threaten my drug using, you had to go. And that was that. And my life got smaller and smaller and smaller. And that was it, until it was me and drugs. And, you know, I ended up kind of homeless on the streets, begging, a tramp, for probably 2 years. And, you know, I looked at myself one day in a window like that, and I thought, Jesus, I didn't really recognise the person looking back at me. It disgusted me, who I saw. I was so ashamed of what I'd become, this tramp with a blanket around me, begging and just, you know, doing what was necessary to get out of my face. It was no longer fun, you know, and because drugs were a lot of fun. And I looked in the window and thought, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. I must somehow get out of this. And at this point I'm thinking that drugs are my problem. If I can just stop taking drugs, I'll be home free. Now you'd think, you know, that's your rock bottom, innit? But it wasn't, you know. It's a strange thing, but you know, I got into treatment from there, and I thought I was finished. You know, if you looked at me, I looked finished. You know, if you speak to my mum, I looked finished. And it seems to be I wasn't finished. I went into a treatment place, and I was that sick they gave me unlimited funding. I don't think that's unheard of now. That's unheard of now, isn't it? But unlimited funding. Stay as long as you want. Just go down there. We send you anywhere. And 9 months later, the treatment centre was saying the same type of thing, but different. You need to leave. You know what I mean? You're not going to graduate. You need to leave before you screw up everything else, every little tiny bit of good that you've done in here, which wasn't much, to be honest. And you screw everybody else up with you. So just quietly leave. And so I did. You know what I mean? And but by this time I'd gotten off the drugs. I didn't have a habit, although I was doing sneaky ones. I was having a little drink. Seriously, I was though, you know, sneaking out and chasing the girls, and that's just pretty much what I did in treatment. But treatment did stop me enough to make me think. And I remember leaving treatment this time, or I say this time, that was the only time. And I thought I could puff, and I thought I could drink. The book describes drink like a gentleman, and I thought I could. I did, as simple as that. I just thought I was addicted to heroin and crack, or heroin and crack were too expensive. If I could have them all the time and I didn't have to do crime, I would probably be all right. But that's not true either. And I tried to drink and smoke pot, and it was cool for about 9 months. And then, you know, what always happens for me, you know, everything that happened before started at this new start I had in Bournemouth. You know, I started taking heroin again, got back on the crack, started dealing. It just, you know, it happens. So I proved I wasn't done. I just simply wasn't done. When I looked at myself in that window as a tramp, I wasn't done. And that drinking experiment lasted 4.5, 5 years. And that last, I think what really happened was I was using my wife, she was my girlfriend then, but she's my wife now. I'd stole her gold or something, and she said, she was clean, and she said, look, get out, or go to a meeting, that's your choices. So for no better reason, I showed up here. And I turned up at a meeting to shut my wife up. That was it. I just wanted her to leave me alone. Do you know what I mean? And I went to this meeting, and something happened. What happened was, I walked in. There was 2 guys in there that I was in treatment with in '99, who in '99 were complete idiots. To be honest, they were like just geeks, and I hung around with them, but I didn't really like them, if you know what I mean. But at that point, I'm like, I need to be liked, and I'm too scared to know what I like, what I don't like. So I kind of hung around with these people. But when I saw them in this meeting that night, they were different men. They were men, and they weren't the boys I was in treatment with. And they came to me, and they were very welcoming and that, and they were glad to see me in a way. And they came over and they talked to me, and they were solid. I'd never met anybody. I've been to a lot of meetings. Admittedly, I make me face most of the time at meetings, but I had never met people like this before in my life. And they said stuff to me that cut through. And I'm stoned at this point, do you know what I mean? And they put their arm around me and they didn't say just don't use, you'll be alright. Because they knew that's bullshit. They put their arm around me and they said, you're in trouble, you're doomed, is the words they said. And they explained to me about the physicality and the mental obsession and the spiritual malady. And I believed them. I knew those things were true about me. And I hated them for it, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? That's delivering some real bad news to me. You're never going to be able to use successfully again. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but that's possibly the worst news I've heard ever. And do you know what I mean? It's that important to me. That's just, you know, despair. Shit. And especially if you believe them and you just think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And true to their word, they took me for coffee after, and they said, we're going to take you to a meeting on Monday. And they did. They showed up at my house on Monday. And they took me to this meeting. It's how it works in Poole, my home group now, and I'm still there many years later. But we got there at 6:30, as we do now, and that was uncomfortable. That was really uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? I was the only newcomer there. There was only about 6 or 7 of them at that time, and they surrounded me and made me real uncomfortable. Because they were all like these 2 people. And they weren't interested in chit-chat or what bullshit I was going to tell them that I was going to do in the future or any of that. They were just, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do? Are you going to get yourself a sponsor? Are you going to buy a big book? Are you going to work the 12 steps this time? Or are you just going to do what you always do? They weren't interested in making a friend of me. You can't blame them. I was an asshole. Do you know what I mean? They had friends. Do you know what I mean? They were strong enough to, like, tell me the truth. And it made me very uncomfortable. And the meeting started, and they all said the same thing. And I'm stoned, and I'm kind of gouching out a bit, and they're waking me up every now and then. And we got to the end of the meeting. I hated it. And I put my newcomer grin on. They said, "How was the meeting?" I was like, "It was good." Powerful. Loved it. Because I think I'm going home now. Do you know what I mean? And then they say, "We're going for coffee now." I've been there since 6:30. I've got heroin in my pocket. I want to go and take it. They took me for coffee, and I left. And at 10 o'clock, I said to myself, "I'm not going back there. That's it. I'm finished with that lot. I'm not going back there." And then about 3 days later, something happened, and I remembered the atmosphere in the room, the laughter. I remember that there was a power in the room, and I couldn't shake it. They had it. I didn't. I desperately needed it in my life, and I didn't know how to get it. And they did. And they knew how I could get it. As people in this room tonight, if you're new, people in this room know how you can get it. And if you want it badly enough, as I did, you can have it. Simple as that. But it wasn't achievable for me on my own, using still, without the 12 steps. It just wasn't going to happen. And I knew it. So I went back the next week, and I'm still there 12 years on, after saying I'm never going back. And there's some of my best friends over there now. I took the 12 steps, which was a piece of cake. And you really hear people complaining, "Oh, step 4's hard." What a load of old bollocks that is. It's not hard at all. You know, you can't write anything down you don't already know. It's to take by surprise, go, "Oh, I didn't know I did that." What? Taking the steps was a piece of cake for me. I was so desperate that I just did everything I was presented to do, I did. And it was electrifying. And I recovered. Simple as that. And my life since then has just been crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like I said at the beginning, if you think you got an idea of what recovery is going to be about, you ain't got a clue. You ain't got a clue. I never had a clue. I came here a tramp, and I started working and stuff like that, which I've always been really against. You know, I didn't like that. And you know, so through taking the 12 steps, it's just been crazy. And like some of the experiences I've had, I abandoned 2 girls when I was using. Didn't see them for 15 years, 2 daughters. And then through the process of the steps, they contact me. I go and see them, make amends. And some crazy stuff has happened. I'm now really involved with these 2 girls. We've made up, they've forgiven me. I saw my grandsons born. They phoned me in the middle of the night and said, "It's happening, we want you to be here." And it was just crazy, you know. And I started working, and I've been to prison 10 times. You know, I'm a crook, I'm a thief, I'm a liar, I'm a cheat. And I started working and practicing what I learned in service in CA. I practiced it at this job I had. And within 3 or 4 months, they said, "We want to train you to be a manager." And I just like, what? And things happened. They sent me off for training. While I was off, the manager got sacked. The assistant manager was rubbish. After about a week, they come and get me and say, "You need to come and run this place because we've got no managers." And I'm like, there's no power in mine. Do you know what I mean? This is all my doing. And just things happened like that. And it was crazy. I've been to prison 10 times, and they're giving me this codes to their safe. And I'm just thinking, "Oh, this is going to end badly." Because all I can remember are my previous experiences, and I think, I don't know if I can do it without stealing all their money. Just because that's what I do. And I was there for 8 years, and I ran it really well. And I didn't steal their money. And that surprises me as much as it does anybody else. I found a power by which I can live by, turn to. So, it's alright when I'm here with you lot. that's fine. You know, oh, Al, help me out, I'm feeling a bit, do you know what I mean? Or whatever. But 2 o'clock in the morning, when the beast's on me, I better have something I can turn to, because that's the time of the night for me that I'm gonna crumble, get myself in trouble. So wonderful things can happen here. But some things have to happen. You have to be done. For me, I had to be completely finished and out of ideas. Do you know what I mean? If I had any ideas of how I was going to get myself better and make it in this world, it wasn't going to happen. I had to be finished and out of ideas. And I've been around for some time. And I do stuff, you know, I phone people and I pray and I do this and that and I try meditating, which I'm rubbish at, but I do that stuff and that keeps me clean. You know, I work the steps and that keeps me clean. But around Christmas time this year, last year at Christmas time, it wasn't enough. Do you know what I mean? Anyone who's been around a while knows this. It's not enough. I'm clean. And I'm not going to use, I feel like I'm not going to use, but this is not enough, you know, and I had to readjust some stuff and try some extra spiritual practices and try some new stuff, because being clean's one thing, but keeping a head above water in this world out there with these earthlings who seem to know how to do it naturally, I had to find something more, do you know what I mean? It's within the program, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was something else, but I had to find something more, and I think that's what we have to do here. Do you know what I mean? Because I was given a list of suggestions to do on a daily basis by my sponsor when I first asked him. When I sat down and he said, are you willing to go to any lengths? And I said yes. He said, start by doing these. Now I fell into the trap of, if I've done them, I've done my stuff. Now that's nonsense. You know, you're better off after a while, for me, this is what happened. I was better off to put that aside, you know, and don't gauge it by that piece of paper. I need to gauge it by this, you know. If I'm buckled inside or I'm drowning in life, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing enough of the right things to keep me happy, you know, confident enough. And those things are very important to me. Oh, how long have I got?
2 minutes.
Couple of minutes? That went quick, didn't it? So, what's the most important thing to me to say? I don't know if anybody's new here, to be honest, because I don't know this group. If you're new here, get yourself a sponsor. Now, that's anybody else in this room, preferably somebody who's taking the steps, and don't look for somebody that's funny, charismatic. That's nonsense, really. Look for somebody that's, you know, kind of, you know, you see them kind of, they're kind, helping people. You can see they're active. You can see some light in their eyes. You can see they've got a way about them, you know, a peacefulness about them. Because I was fooled before, and I chose badly. But and I say, get yourself a sponsor. Most people in this room are more than willing to help. If you're new, more than, you know, don't be afraid to ask, because that's why we're here, you know. And if anybody's here and they're not willing to sponsor you and help you, you don't want them anyway. As simple as that. Do you know what I mean? So if they say no, you've got a bonus. But very, very rarely will people say no. Do you know what I mean? So you get yourself a sponsor. And this is what I did. I got myself a sponsor. I attached myself to a group like this, and I came. It anchors me to fellowship, you know. And I'm there. I don't care if there's something I want to do that night. If somebody says to me, "Can you do this on a Monday in 2 months' time?" I just say no. And they say, "Why?" Well, I've got a commitment on a Monday night. That's it. And attach yourself to a group like this, because you'll get to know these people. They'll become family. And when dark times come, or when you want to have good times with people, they'll be there. Buy a book. It's at the back there. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous. It'll be the best £8 you've ever spent, I can tell you. Wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
It doesn't make any sense. You can pay thousands to go to, you can pay thousands to go to treatment, buy yourself an £8 book. Crazy. Take the actions contained in that book and just, you know, stay. It's as simple as that. Now, it's very important you find a power by which to live by. I'm not a religious man. Some of my dearest friends are religious people. It means nothing. I don't care what you call it. That's just a name. It's a word. But you must find yourself something, you know. And I don't believe anybody here, if anybody's got a different power than me, we call it by a different name. If you were to remove that name and experience the feeling behind that name, it would feel exactly the same as the next man's. I'm pretty sure of that. But you must find yourself something that's going to get between you and music. I'm going to have to stop now, aren't I? I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening.
thank you, Rico.